Hello everyone and welcome to the New York Empoleon's draft analysis video for a brand new league. Not just new for the New York Empoleons, but new ever. This is the first season of the Soul Dew Association, a brand new draft league set up in Wi-Fi that will be my first ever LAN required league. We proved we could do it in the finals of the PBAL. We know how that went, so hopefully this season doesn't go quite like that. The battle actually wasn't hard to set up or anything. It was just that I didn't win. So we are going to be back now with a league that from week 1 till the end of the season will be using that chess timer, that LAN timer that you all know and love. And you know, it's a frustrating thing to set up, but everyone loves when the battles take place on it, and it will allow me to play a little bit differently. This will be going on alongside the TBL, so we are going to have battles on and off LAN, so I'm going to have to get my Switch, on and off LAN, but basically this league is the first one I'm doing that is LAN required. There's actually going to be another one coming up in about a month, so check that draft analysis video when it comes out. But for now, this is going to be the one for at least a few weeks. This is going to be where we get our feet wet and see how LAN works overall. And it will allow me, like I was saying, to play a little bit slower, to be a little bit smarter about my time management. I don't need to rush all my moves or make the first rash decision. I'll have more time to calc and be smart. I am going to try to continue playing like I've been playing, which is a very sped up pace to how I played in Gen 7. But I don't think I'm actually going to have too much trouble adjusting to using the chess timer and finding the results that I would find otherwise. So hopefully we do see some success there. But you all are here to see which 11 Pokemon I drafted, so let's talk about that a little bit. The draft was a little different. There were about 6 or 7, more than that, tiers, basically ranging from 200 points to 20 points every 20 points down, and we had 1,200 points to draft exactly 11 Mons. That will become important. You couldn't draft fewer, you had to draft 11. So a 1,200 point budget to draft 11 Mons and just make a team. And it was a lot more free than normal tiers, but I'm not used to this type of this tiering, because normally with tiers you have everything from like 18 down to 1, with everything being in single point increments, right? So you're used to like there being an option at 17 and then an option at 16, but this one went down by 20s, so you didn't actually have an option at every 10. Now obviously this is sort of like you take a 120 point budget for a normal thing and you just multiply it by 10, so that wasn't a big change. But the idea that you are kind of restricted by the tiers themselves and not having ones at every possible stage was kind of interesting, and did make some Mons more valuable because they were under tiered, and some Mons less valuable because they were over tiered, because there was nothing where the exact spot that you would have potentially wanted to place them, which I think made for some interesting teams. And if you watch all these draft analysis videos for all the coaches, whose links are all down in the description below for who's playing this season, they are wild. Don't get me wrong. So we're going to jump in. I had the 5th pick overall, and I was fortunate enough. Was I 5th pick? I can't even remember. I'm going to be honest. I thought I had 5th pick, but now I'm totally second guessing that. But I decided what was left on the board at the time that I was going to pick, that was the best Mon left, was Gen 8 Unrestricted Mew. We are going hard. I was like, that does not even know what I was expecting to want. I didn't expect it to last this long, to be honest. But yeah, Unrestricted Mew. So every move it learns, I can have access to. And that's all of them, basically. The fact that it picked up T-Spikes and Spikes in the generational shift, as well as all of the Move Tutor moves from the new Move Tutors. So it's got Meteor Beam, it's got Grassy Glide, it's got Expanding Force, it's got everything there. It's still got all the things it had before that made it so versatile and so interesting. And base 100s has become a really good stat again. I think it was slowly becoming phased out, but a lot of the Mons that made base 100s phased out aren't in Gen 8, or if they are, again, it's draft league, so only one person can have it. So I'm not as stressed out. Mew is a very, very good Mon. We know that. We've used it before to great success in past leagues. And I don't know how to talk about Mew. It was just a great pick, and it was still available at my turn, and I decided, yep, we're just going to go for it, because that's the Mon that I want to take. And I'm just going to see what Mons last till the next round, because I have no plan for this draft going into it. I really just kind of was just going to let it happen and see what happened. But Gen 8 Mew is just so good, and I just figured there's no way I can pass that kind of utility and value up where I'm at. And honestly, when it comes back to me, and I get the opportunity to go full pink blob team, I decided, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go max out on our pink blobs. So we actually end up taking Clefable as our next pick that lasted all the way till the end of round 2. And I was like, yeah, you're just gonna take versatile mons that are obnoxious to prep for and great to have access to. And we're playing on the chess timer, which means it's not 20-minute timer. I'm not restricted to running a non-setup Clefable. I can absolutely just Cosmic Power, Sword Power, Calm Mind. I can use Stealth Rocks, and I can use just a Toxic Magic Guard set. You know, like, I can do whatever I need to with this Clefable in order to make sure I'm winning games. And I really like that the utility that it provided to me. Really like the hazard game that I was going to be able to play with these two mons. Excuse me. I just recorded 4 episodes of the Pokemon Blaze Black Volt White series with Brendan, and so my voice is a little shot, but I don't have a lot of time to record this, so we're just doing it now. But Clefable, I think, is a really, really solid mon here. I think it gives me a lot of utility, and again, we're playing on the chess timer, which I think does make a difference to how good Clefable is. I did win a championship with it on 20-minute timer, but we are going to be playing in a little bit of a different style. Now, there is a note. This is not the TBL. Baton Pass is legal, but not stat passing. No stat passing at all, but I can pass subs and stuff like that. So I can play around with this Clefable and see if there's any ways to make Baton Pass really good. Obviously, it has Teleport and Wish, and I can pass subs. So there's obviously sneaky things you can do with Baton Pass, but most of the time, this will probably end up clicking Teleport if I do end up going for a utility switch out move. And it's just, again, what do you say about Mew and Clefable? They are 2 of the best mons in format, and there's a reason for that, and I'm just glad that I have both of them. And everyone's like, well, how is it legal that one guy gets both Mew and Clefable? And I was just like, well, you shouldn't have, admittedly, you shouldn't just let one guy draft, you shouldn't have left it there. That's what I'm trying to say. You shouldn't have left it there for 2 rounds. I lost my feed. All right, so next up, we have the lowest quality picture I could find of Spectral, but it's what I had, so here we are. They legalized it in this league, and you're going to see this budget, all right, down in the corner, over there, down in that corner. It's going down. We're yelling timber. You better move. Anyway, so Spectral was 160, where I was like, wow, that's, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's beatable by Dark and Normal, but, like, look who's got a Clefable. So your Dark type is nothing to me. And yeah, I've got Mew, and knockoff is something that Clefable doesn't love, but to me, I was like, look, you can spam knockoff and you can hit my mons, but you're not going to break Clefable by spamming knockoff. You'll just get rid of its leftovers, but I'll still soft boil in your face. And like, I'm not too worried about it, and Moonblast is super spammable. And the other thing is, the reason that I think this is really valuable, and something I really liked about the synergy here, is that which of these 2 mons, Spectral or Mew, are you going to use your Dark type to beat? Right? Every team's going to draft Dark type, and everybody's going to bring their Dark type against my roster. They have to. With just these first 3 mons, you have to bring your Dark type against this roster. And it's like, which of these mons, of these 2, Mew and Spectral, do you beat with your Dark type? Right? And Mew is obviously a little bit hard to predict. It can get coverage for Dark types, where Spectral really doesn't. So I expect them to say, okay, I'm just not going to bring my Dark type in. I need it to be healthy to beat the Spectral 1v1. Well, then Mew can spam Psychic attacks. If you're not going to bring in your Dark type to beat the Mew, then why can't I just spam Psychic? Right? Because you need your Dark type healthy in order to deal with the Spectral later. And if they don't do that, then Spectral goes in later on in the game. So Mew has a chance to either kill things with just going for Stab Psychic, because now I've removed their Dark type as a threat, or they keep their Dark type in the back, Mew spam Psychic, and then Spectral doesn't need to sweep because I have other mons like Clefable that can handle Dark types. And you'll notice my next pick, which is Scizor of all things. I don't know why I didn't click through. Scizor of all things, your Dark type's not coming in on that either, right? So you're going to have trouble getting your Dark type in. It's not going to have good matchups against my team. And then Spectral goes nuts because the Dark types aren't even really that threatening to the rest of my roster. And so, yeah, again, Scizor was expensive, but I figured it was totally worth it. My removal at this point was just Mew. I decided I wanted at least 1 more piece of removal in Scizor. And I wanted something else that could just beat Dark types. It doesn't resist, but it does U-turn on any Dark type and do super damage. And they have to switch their Dark type out because they need it to be healthy against the Spectral later, like I said. So then you get that free U-turn. It's a ton of free damage, and the Scizor goes out. now you go into the Spectrier. You can still click a Ghost-type move or Will-O-Wisp or something on their Dark-type, or even Sub as they switch it in, and then be able to beat them 1v1 from there. And I was like, look, this team is just nuts. Like, these top 4 are ridiculous. Like, how did I get these top 4 Mons? And this is where the draft started to get a little bit weird for me, because I looked at my budget. I'm already under half of my overall budget, and we've only drafted 4 out of 11 Mons. So I was like, okay, I gotta chill. Right? I gotta stop taking such expensive Mons. What Dark type do I want to take off the board that I can beat my opponents with? And everyone was telling me the best Mon to pair with Spectrier is Incineroar, because it's a really good Spectrier check. I know Spectrier gets Mud Shot, but like, it's Mud Shot. Or Mud Bomb. But it's a really good Spectrier check, so you take that off the board. It's got great knockoff stab, U-turn, parting shot. Makes it really easy to get into the Spectrier. So, like, take Incineroar. And I thought about it, and I was like, but I really want to take Zoroark. Because I think Zoroark would be so interesting with this team. Because, like, the mind games, right? Now I bring in my Spectrier, and you're like, oh, I'll go into my Dark type. And my Spectrier just pops off a Focus Blast. And I Nasty Plot the first turn, so you're like, all right, my Dark type's safe. I'm good. And then I pop a Focus Blast. Or even, I go for a Swords Dance. And you're like, that's not a Spectrier. And then you get slammed by Superpower at +2 from a Zoroark. And Spectrier is still in the back, and now your Dark type's gone. And so I really thought Zoroark would be interesting and fun. But I decided at this point, I really also wanted a good fighting type, because I wanted another answer to Darks. I really want Darks to feel bad. And here's the thing. I knew the first time that I had the opportunity to draft Spectrier, I was going to draft a team around it that showed you how broken Spectrier was, because everyone says in draft, why wouldn't you draft a Dark type? It beats Spectrier. And so to me, I was like, no. One Dark type does not beat Spectrier, because you have a whole team based around Spectrier. So, like, I decided to not withhold myself on points, to not hold back, to not even take the Dark type, and I took Como-O right here. Physical, special, setup, monster, got rocks as well, which I thought was super helpful, and a speed tier I didn't object to having, didn't have yet, and I was like, look, I can find a Dark type later, but I think Spectrier would appreciate having a really good fighting type. And again, things that want to switch in on the Como-O don't appreciate Scizor, certainly. You can usually handle fairy types. Look at my team. They don't threaten the rest of my team. I don't care about fairy types. Like, that's not a big deal. So, and I've got a Scizor. And so I was like, look, it's underpriced. It was only 140, which I thought was pretty cheap. It doesn't have Clangorous Soul, but that doesn't mean it's not a good Mon. I've proven that, I think, in seasons past. And it's still got, let's see. Can I even name all the sets? Belly Drum, Sub-Select Belly Drum. It's got Autotomized Weakness Policy or Throat Spray. It's got Bulk Up. It's got Dragon Dance. It's got, there's so many, like, I don't know. Maybe that wasn't even all the setup. That's all I can think of right now. But it's got so many different forms of setup that, like, you don't know what it's going to do, and you don't know how to beat it. And if you already are, like, super hyper-focused on something like Spectrier, you could easily forget how much of a threat Como-O is in a late game situation. And then this thing gets a sweep. Spectrier doesn't even come that week, and we get a win. And so I decided, you know what? Let's not take the Dark type right now. Let's take Como-O and have some fun with it. So these top 5 are insane. This is like the best 5 I've ever drafted. And I was like, oh no. Now I have to take an average of 60 points per Mon because I only have 360 points left for 6 Mons. So, I needed to dip now. I was like, I can't take Incineroar. That's too expensive. I can't take Zoroark even. That's too expensive. Zoroark was at 100, I think. And I was like, I can't spend another 100 points on my 6th pick and only have 260 left for my last 5. So I decided to dip down one more tier and grab Drapeon, which I thought was a really solid Mon here. Gives me another T-Spikes user. Gives me a really solid knockoff user. And the poison coverage is good against the fairies that, again, the Como-O is threatened by. And again, I don't think you want to switch your Dark type in on this. I don't think you want to switch your things that are going to check the the Spectral in on this, so you're specially offensive or specially defensive mons. So you're kind of stuck just dealing with this Drapeon, letting things get knocked off, letting this thing set up in front of you, and just accepting that it's going to beat you, at least a little bit. And if even a little window of breaking happens, this team goes nuts. So I figured 80 points gives me just a little bit of extra leeway with these last couple picks, last half of the team. And I'm going to take it because it's a really solid dark type, and I liked the speed tier, and I liked the mon itself, and I just wanted another mon that was just going to be threatening everything that could threaten the Spectral. And again, I just think Drapeon offers me a really good opportunity to give a new look to the team. Again, it looks like these top 3, 4, 5 mons are going to be like coming every week, and they're going to be like incredibly difficult to deal with, and you just forget other mons exist. That's sort of what this team's about. So these last few picks are all value. They're all things that like you forget exists. Next up, I decided I was going to draft Quagsire. I didn't have another Great Wall. I didn't have a water type. I didn't have a ground type. And I was like, you know what? Let's grab a second unaware mon. You set up in front of me, I don't care. I set up in front of you, and you die. So all my mons get set up, except for this Quagsire, basically. But this is just great team support. Scald, obviously, it can go for Earthquakes. It can go for Toxics, Recovers. It's Yawn. It's got decent sets, decent option, Bulk, Unaware. So I figured good to have. I didn't have any way of like checking Trick Room at this time really either. My team was pretty fast. So, it's not super fast. It's like kind of middling speed tiers. I didn't really have a ton of speed on the top end, and I didn't have a ton of speed on the bottom end. So I figured Quagsire offered me a good price for what I was getting. Would I have preferred a better Water Ground? Yeah, but I used way too many points at the beginning, so we get what we get. But I think Quagsire gives me a second mon, again, that has Unaware. Water Absorb is also a really valuable ability in this format, and I just think it gives me a lot of utility in the cheaper spot. And I have 3 rockers already, so I was like, I don't need my Water Ground to be a rocker. Obviously, Swampert is like the optimal pick there, but I think this thing gives me a lot of utility, and I was just like, yeah, let's grab it. I don't have the types. As you'll notice, I didn't have a single mon for my Grass, Water, Fire core up until this pick. 0. And so I was like, I'm going to have to find a Grass, Water, Fire core that is very cheap. And it starts with the Quagsire. And I also needed a ground type, so this just gives me a good switch into like electric types, which I didn't really have a resist to before. Next up, we have the Rotom Frost. Rotom Frost here, I figured was another good switch into electric types. It was a thing off the ground, which I was kind of dreading the idea of Earthquake at this point. Looking at the draft, I was like, oh, I don't even have a resist to that. So Rotom Frost gave me a resist, gave me an electric resist, which I also think I needed, gave me an offensive ice type, which is really solid in this format. And I like it because it checks ground types. Will-O-Wisp is super nice. It's an electric type that checks ground types, I should say. I like it because it was cheap, mostly. It was only 60 points, and I was like, yeah, I mean, Blizzard's notoriously unreliable, sure, but I can still run like a nasty plot set with Willow, Hex, and Thunderbolt and feel perfectly fine about it. You know, you don't need Blizzard in every matchup, and the threat of Blizzard being there is always omnipresent, so that's always the thing they have to just like keep in the back of their mind. Like, is this Rotom going to click Blizzard? Am I going to lose a switch in, a ground type switch in to check the electric type attack just for nothing? And it is worth noting that obviously Sub can help you get off an extra Blizzard, or Wide Lens can make it 77% accurate if you want to, or Blunder Policy can help you get off another Blizzard. So this Rotom definitely has utility. Again, I'm going to miss Blizzards this season. I'm just going to accept that that's going to happen. But I think more often than not, being able to their switch into the Rotom is not the Dark type, right? Because it can't be, because they can't let it take that kind of damage. Volt Switch, go into Spectral, force the Dark type in. It takes the T-Spikes if the Drapeon or Mew set them up, or the Spikes from the Mew, or the Stealth Rocks that I have a bunch of mons that set up. And so I think this just helps facilitate that. It's a just good momentum mon, and I just figured another piece of removal. So all good things. Rotom basically just offered me a lot of utility. These last 2 picks were sort of utility picks, and then we get back into my like wacky team. So next up is the Noctowl. Noctowl here, obviously, we've drafted it before. We know how to use it. They had this thing at 20 points pre-draft. They changed it because I was like, you can't make Noctowl 20 points. I refuse to allow it. But I was like, this is 20 points? I would take that round 1. Because look at how few points I have left, right? Like, look how broken my team is. Noctowl at 20. The Mons at 20 were literally like Choodle and Abra. And like they were all completely unviable. Not all of them, but like a lot of them were completely unviable. And then there's Noctowl sitting there. And I was like, it's not up there with Mew. But it's not down there with Abra either. So, decided, you know what, I have the points for it. I would love one more piece of removal. You know, having 4 defoggers feels really good in this format. It's another mon that, again, if you forget how to check a setup option for it, it has literally 0 resists with Tinted Lens, so it can spam Hurricanes or Air Slashes forever. And if I want to, it has Moonblast, so Dark types are nothing to me anyway. It has Heat Wave for Steel types if I don't want to use Tinted Lens like as my only possible like attack damaging option. So I really like the Noctowls. I've used them before. You know that. I know that. It's not unique or new, but it is a mon that I love. So we are going to hang out with Noctowl once again on the team. It's been a little while, actually. But let's see. Can I balance you? Usually you don't balance. Usually you aren't this hard to balance. Why are you being so difficult today? All right, so Noctowl is here, hanging out, taking up the entirety of the middle of my screen. Hold on, let me just move this real quick. So Noctowl is not quite taking up the entire middle of my screen. Okay, Noctowl, what are you doing? Where do you want to chill? You want to chill there? Will you balance? You won't balance. All right. Hold on. Fine, you're going to just take up the entire middle of my screen. That's where you're going to perch. Noctowl has decided that this is the Noctowl show, and that's how it's going to be. So, next up, I actually drafted Tangla here and decided I was going to change it post-draft before week 1, so I just put the Blossom here because that was the one I might change it to, but they were the same tier. I looked at Blossom, and I saw that it had Baton Pass and Infestation, and was like, does that work? Does Baton Passing Infestation maintain the Infestation? Because Baton Passing Mean Look maintains the Mean Look, but I guess the trapping effect of Infestation is technically the after-turn effect of Infestation, not the fact that you used the move. So and the after-turn effect does not persist, so you end up not trapping, which is really lame. But I saw that, and I was like, ooh, that seems really interesting. But Strength Sap's broken, Quiver Dance is great, and it has Baton Pass. I can't Baton Pass Quiver Dances, but I can Baton Pass Strength Saps, right? So just weaken the opponent to the point where they can't touch me, Baton Pass, safe switch into Spectrier, and now your mon's at -3, -4 attack. Knockoff's not going to do anything, and I just get to kill you. Or you have to switch out, and then Spectrier gets a better opportunity to do what it needs to do, and Blossom can come back in later. So it offered me a lot of utility, and another ground resist, which I thought was really good. Again, you're looking at this end of this roster being like, oh yeah, there's your ground resists, because the beginning certainly wasn't. Yeah, it gave me the grass type that I didn't have. It has Leech Seed. It has, again, Baton Pass. It has Quiver Dance with Moonblast. Again, another mon that can cover the darks that I need to, which I really needed something to do. And so I decided to just go with the Blossom here. I've never drafted it before, but I've always wanted to, so I'm excited to use it and see what happens. And the last mon on the roster with just 20 points left, we managed to squeak in there. I heard you all on the Incineroar pick, so I opted to go with the Torracat because it's all I could afford. But at 20 points, I think this is a steal. One, I learned this thing has 90 base speed. Where did that all go when it evolves? Why is it like base 65 when it evolves? That's just ridiculous. Base 80s, I think, in each of its offenses too, so not unviable to use as an offensive mon if needed, but Eviolite with Intimidate, surprisingly bulky, and it still has Parting Shot. It does lose Knockoff from the Incineroar, which is kind of lame, but it does still have Parting Shot. It is still a fire type that I did not have before, and I think, most of the moves that make Incineroar really good, outside of literally just Knockoff, Torracat still has, and Torracat can use because it has actually a better base speed. So it doesn't have as much bulk. Well, actually, it's more bulk because of Eviolite, but it doesn't have as much natural bulk. It doesn't have the dark typing to bounce it off of, but I really like the Torracat here. And I think as a fire type with Parting Shot for 20 points, that is bulky, has Intimidate, gives me all the things I need in order to make Mew, Clef, Spectrier, Scizor, Como-O, Drapeon, Noctowl, Blossom, and Rotom Frost, the setup sweepers that I have on my team, you know, the handful of setup sweepers I have on my team, all incredibly good. And added bonus, it gets Nasty Plot. So that could happen at some point this season. I don't actually recall if it also gets Swords Dance. I don't think it does, but it does get Nasty Plot. And so everything but Quagsire on my team, I think, learns a move that boosts a stat by 2. And Quagsire might learn Amnesia. Not that that's that useful, but it might learn it. So everything on my team gets moves that boost by 2, and this team is the most setup I've ever seen. It seems so much fun to use. It seems ridiculous to try to use this team. I have legitimately no idea what to expect, but it's going to be a good time. Whatever happens, I'm going to have a blast doing it. Noctowl and I here, we're going all the way this season. I've never used a season with LAN. I've certainly never done a draft like this. I think I did it wrong, but I think I did it just wrong in the absolute right way. So, week 1, what do you guys expect? This is going up on March 8th. Week 1 is going up next week. I don't know why I posted up 2. Noctowl blocked it, just because Noctowl's like, you guys don't need to see that. Next week, which is the 15th, is the uploads for week 1. I'll have my team builder going up on the 14th as well, so you guys can come to expect. We are just jumping right into the season. Hopefully you guys are excited like I am, because this team is mind-blown ridiculous. No Blacephalon, so I guess I can't make that joke, but it's ridiculous, and I am super excited to use it. So hopefully you guys are pumped for the New York Empoleon to enter into a brand new league, all new coaches, all new experiences, a wild ride, 11-week regular season. Let's see what happens. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care, everybody.